Nothing's wrong with it. I had S1.
It happens to me all the time.
I'm calling to order the council meeting of Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. Please call the roll.
Mr. Newell?
Here.
Ms. Atroff?
Here.
Ms. Weltman?
Here.
Ms. Bowden?
Here.
Mr. Lemay?
Here.
Mr. Gentili?
Here. Dr.
Wong?
Good evening, council. Good evening, members of our audience. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item this evening would be an approval of the council minutes of June 10th and June 24th, 25. Could I please have a motion regarding the minutes of June 10th?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to comment that for those particular minutes, when we talked about the future walkability projects, I just felt like the minutes didn't really reflect the amount of time and discussion that we had. Like, it was just very light. And I felt like we had quite a discussion in there. So I don't know if there's a way to like kind of bolster it up a little bit. I don't know if anybody else noticed that or felt that way. It was just, I don't know.
I did also, and also as to the email and that discussion, sort of the same thing, because I went back to kind of revisit it just to refresh my memory, and then I looked at the minutes and they weren't necessarily as substantive as what we talked about. So I don't know.
Well, minutes are always a balance. They are certainly not intended to be, and it would actually be inappropriate as a minutes. They're not a transcript. I understand they're supposed to reflect the gist of what occurred, so that someone referencing the minutes will understand this was a topic that was being discussed, and the nature of the votes has to be reflected. The people in attendance need to be reflected. And I know Ms. O'Connor works extremely hard to strike this balance. Sometimes it may satisfy different people more so than others. I think that what we benefit from is that our actually the recording is available for anyone who, seeing the minutes, wants to explore deeper into what a conversation was. I've read things about minutes over the years, because this is not the first time we've ever had a conversation about what should be contained in minutes. And they're not supposed to really reflect the opinion of every person who spoke. That is not always a goal of traditionally what minutes are about. So I respect what you're saying, and I know Ms. O'Connor will always strive to give a full sense of these are the matters discussed. And if anyone thinks there's some particular matter of great input in a particular thing that was said or commented that needs to be reflected, that needs to be communicated to Ms. O'Connor, and we always try to accommodate people.
Well,
I know we've done it for Tony several times in the past.
I think it's just like something that I thought was important might have been left out. I didn't notice what Emmy and Melanie are saying, but I think we could approve them, and then I'm willing to reread them and see. I mean, they could be amended after the first approval.
Sure.
There's something that could flesh it out a little better.
Yeah, okay.
And I guess something that, for me, part of it has nothing to do with the work that Ms. O'Connor does at all. I think she does a stellar job. I think part of it has to do with just how we're set up. I think those two things should go hand in hand. And on our website, they're sort of all housed in separate places. Everything's, I think we could use an update on our system. I know I've said it before. So maybe when we look into our technology updates, that could be part of it. There are systems that kind of house these things better so that you can look at them hand in hand. So not that that couldn't be reflected in the written version, but if they were more easily accessible at the same time, I think that would help. So something to think about when we update technology.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to, if you don't mind, take this opportunity to say we had at the last meeting, we had an audio failure in our system sometime through the meeting. We always record a backup audio recording, so we did have that. So the audio exists, and it was placed on the city's website. It was a little bit more difficult to find than I would have liked, but it was there, and if you persevered, you could find it. But yes, and I agree, this is part of the whole update we need in technology here.
And no disrespect to you, Sheila. I do know how hard you work, and I appreciate all the efforts that you give to all of us in representing all of us in the minutes. So I thank you.
And I also want to mention that the audio failure of last week was just a odd glitch.
Yes, and I want to extend our appreciation to Mr. Newell, who spent part of today ironing out still a couple of glitches. Sheila and Becky did a good job, and Jim Advent assisted making sure the system was back on its feet. Still had some audio issues, and thank you, Scott, for coming by and figuring all that out. Appreciate it.
Hope it works all the way
We'll
through the
see.
meeting.
We'll find out. If it doesn't, we'll blame you.
I'll accept.
All righty, thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Atrap?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Ms. Bodek?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili? Dr. Wong?
All right, and next motion for approval of June 24th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Atrap?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Ms. Bodek?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Dr. Wong?
Thank you. Next, we move on to ordinance 2025-11, which had to do with this is a second reading regarding the recreational trails. I think Mr. Byron may have made a few changes in accordance to.
We didn't make any changes.
Is it the same
It's
as
the
what
same.
we had before?
Yep.
Okay. So is there any further discussion about that?
I have some comments on another read of this. Just first one is definition of sidewalk under section 1 with the number 25 in front of it is different than the definition of sidewalk in section 3. I think they're referring to the same thing, but they're defined differently. And while we're making changes, we might as well reconcile those two so they read the same. So the first change would be to add in the first definition of sidewalk or the lateral lines of a roadway. That phrase is present in the second definition of sidewalk. Second definition, I said between the curb lines or the lateral lines of a roadway, and that phrasing isn't in the first definition of sidewalk.
So does that mean the sidewalk would be,
It's
The on
I'm gonna get
street.
I'm gonna get to that.
okay,
I don't see
That's another
any
problem.
lateral lines.
Yeah.
Good catch.
That's.
You see
that's
it's
covered
in-
by
that's in section
sidewalk where there is no curb.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
But they're just different.
Yeah, no, I got
I
it.
think they should read the same, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Oh, lateral lines. Thank you, Jim, for.
All right. And then another reconciliation is we've added the word and bicyclist to the second definition of sidewalk. We should add that to the first definition of sidewalk, so they read the same. It's the red line at the bottom, add and bicyclist, and add to the first definition sidewalk, add and bicyclist.
Is there any reason, Steve, why these definitions have a purpose of being different at all?
I don't know. We went through and just picked out the the various sections that include the
I
definition.
think they were probably just done at different times and no one
Yeah,
recognized.
they're throughout the code, these different
Yeah.
references.
But they mean the same thing, they're just worded differently.
All right, well, what we'll do, Mr. Lemay, is, thank you for pointing all this out. We will make sure that there isn't
They're consistent. Yeah.
some special reason that they're different.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll make them consistent for next week, or next month when we're together.
So, just related to that, and Steve, you can tell me what this means. The first definition of sidewalk, Ozol, the second one says, means that portion of the street. But it's not really like the colloquial use of street, it's that portion of the right of way, right? Not,
I think that's right.
so should we use right of way rather than street, so it's not confusing?
Where is that?
In both definitions, it says that portion of the street,
Oh, I see.
which is really confusing because you think of a street as where the cars are, not,
Yeah, I agree.
I think street might be defined as right away. So,
Mhm.
in our own
so
definition.
you have to go 3 layers deep to find. If you could check on that, because I think it reads better as right of way because
Even if
it kind of implies you're taking care of the street,
Yeah,
right?
even if it is defined elsewhere, then
It reads,
this
yeah,
isn't really accurate.
yeah, right. Because it says that between the curb line, you assume the curb line is where the street, as we commonly think about street, would end. And for this
Yeah.
purpose at least.
So, Mr. Shi, is the right-of-way, as you understand, it's defined as the street is actually the street that we think of as a street, but the street also
The
extends
entire-
through the right-of-way?
The entire right of way is considered this.
The right-of-way,
Or sometimes.
the right-of-way is inclusive of that portion that extends up into the yard, and the street.
Yeah.
right, and that's all.
That's all considered the street. I know what you're saying, pavement.
It reads a lot easier if you say that portion of the right of way, right?
Okay.
Because,
So in
I see your
common,
right,
language, the street is one thing, the right of way is another.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that definition is that,
yeah, so
Equates them.
why not change it? I think it reads better.
Yeah,
So,
in section 1, there is also a typo. It says subsection 25 of 402.02. That is actually 202.02. So general definitions. And so these are definitions that are appearing in separate sections of the code.
right,
I agree with you. They should provide the same thing. One is the general definition for all of the code. The first one, 25, is for the entire codified ordinance. Codified ordinances 402.39 is in the traffic code.
Yeah.
So we'll get those consistent. We'll fix it up.
so the most substantive concern I have is just the definition of recreational trail. I think it's, the way it's worded now makes it exactly synonymous with sidewalks. And so a sidewalk is a recreational trail and a recreational trail is a sidewalk.
For the purposes of the code, yes.
Yeah, but then, so just to take an example, so the things we're calling sidewalks along Chagrin Road in front of the businesses,
Mhm.
those owners would now declare them to be recreational trails.
Mhm.
Is that what we want? Or we are trying to preserve some distinction?
when those sidewalks were put in,
Let me, just hang on one second, though. Are we trying to preserve a distinction between the two? For any purpose?
I don't see why we should, do you?
That's where I'm coming out.
I don't see why we should. When we first, and I think this probably goes to where Mr. Gentili was thinking, when that Chagrin Boulevard sidewalk went in, we weren't really dealing with this whole recreational trail phenomenon either.
yeah, the phrase
So,
recreational trails.
We had
never
different
came up
considerations, right?
Until we started talking about land or something.
Right, and so to me, at this point in time, I don't see a real benefit of making a distinction. Recreational trails and sidewalks can be synonymous. I think we defined it as a recreational trail in order to make sure we afford our residents the non-liability
Sure.
and responsibility for maintenance.
Right.
So
But,
you
but.
know, are thinking, you know, advanced stuff.
So if we don't want to do that, which I think I'm inclined to agree with you, you know, I think everyone should think about it, then we need to modify the next page, the new section 4 on this ordinance on page 2. And we can simply say, you know, no owner occupant of abutting lands shall be required to keep the recreational trail curbs or gutters in repair and free from snow, ice, or any nuisance. If we don't need to preserve the distinction, we don't need this yes and no provision that's now set in A, because we're saying, if it's called a sidewalk, you do. If it's a recreational trail, you don't.
I do not have a problem with making that
Yeah.
adjustment.
Okay.
Is there any, are we making any distinction between those sidewalks that are in front of businesses? Or are they all?
This would, what they're talking about would eliminate the
So-
distinction
Yeah.
so that you could have it set up so that businesses are required to maintain the sidewalks, or you could make the change that's proposed, treat the sidewalks as recreational trails and not have businesses. required.
That's the distinction you might want to preserve,
Right.
but I think historically, we have never required curb repair by anyone.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, it just, and right now, if we want to preserve that, we need to change the definition of recreational trails completely.
And it starts getting a little slice and dice if we don't make it unified, because particularly, it seems to me, as sidewalk trail on New Brainerd, as it wraps in
Mhm.
front of residential, and then when it starts extending
Yeah.
towards Eaton shopping area.
Yeah.
I think there's some place in that property line where you're probably in front of a commercial as opposed to a residential.
Yep.
And I just as soon make it uniform.
That's my inclination to do that. And to do that, we can just modify section 4 that just says flatly, no owner or occupant of abutting lands shall be required to, just for avoidance of doubt.
Do those businesses maintain the sidewalks?
That is-
Not repair, but snow removal? I have no idea.
Snow-
We've
snow
never-
plowing.
They do,
They do.
just like as a matter of course, right? Like as, I mean, I
Because
don't
they
know.
want
that-
to, I think, if they do, but I don't.
They're not.
I think they were required.
I mean, based on this, no owner shall fail to keep the sidewalks
Well-
free of snow.
Well,
The way
the
it
existing law requires
Right.
them to.
Yeah.
So
do
that's
that.
what I'm saying.
Let's ask some people who might know. Do you recall that anyone on Chagrin is actually plowing those sidewalks, shoveling? I don't recall that happening. I don't think they're doing it, and we're not enforcing it.
And do we have anything I'm thinking, I can't think of anything, but are there any liability concerns that would occur in a commercial area that we're not anticipating? I can't think of anything, but I just want to make sure as we're walking through this, because obviously it wasn't set up that way previously.
I don't know why that would be any
Was this
different.
overlooked or, you
It's no
know,
different.
Yeah.
If they're not creating a hazard, it's no
Well,
different.
they're two different, they're two different zones, right? It could be different, just because one's a
It
commercial.
could be different,
We could be.
One's a commercial
That's what
zone,
we want to
one's
do.
a residential.
but for what purpose?
Yeah, I mean, if they're not required, or if they're not maintaining them now, or snow plowing them now, then there's probably no point in making a distinction.
and I'm not worried about the maintenance, that piece of it. I'm just making sure we're covered on the liability end. I think we are, but
Well,
I'm just
I
trying to
think so.
run through the conversation.
I'm inclined to make it uniform. That's my inclination, because almost all of the sidewalks we put in on all the new, what's going to be recreational trails as we think about it. There's maybe, I can't imagine where there's going to be a commercial, maybe it'd be a short stretch if we do anything in the future, though. It's almost all going to be in
It's
front
all
of
gonna be
homes.
residential.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the only other place where it may not be is if we go down Pine Tree, but I think, and I'm not certain again, in front of the Pine Tree strips, I don't know what, down where that hair salon is and those things on there, is there a sidewalk already down there? There's not. So that would be the only other commercial area I could see where one may go in.
The only walk that I can think of is coming out of Morgan Park, going right to the drive apron there.
Mhm.
And it has a crosswalk across the street. That's the only
Rather than
way.
slice and dice, I adopt your idea. I think
I
we
think so.
should.
And,
Make it uniform.
just, I like to make it uniform. And if it becomes an issue in the future, we can change it for commercial zones if we want to.
I agree. Okay, thank
Get
you.
it done.
We'll pass that on. We'll see you next month. Next, we have ordinance 2025-12. This is a cleanup item that I commend Lieutenant Hobart for identifying. We had an inconsistency in our local ordinance and state law, which changed a couple of years ago. Chief, any comments on it?
No, just like you said, needed to be cleaned up, the front plate law. You don't have to have a front license plate in your car anymore. And rear is all that's necessary. We didn't change that in our local ordinances when the state did, so.
Our codifier usually picks up those changes in law. They should have picked that up.
Mayor, I have one question about 11. I'm sorry to go back.
Yeah. go ahead.
It says in the caption, ordinance 2025-11 as amended. So it was changed, wasn't it? From the
We did make a change based on Mr. LeMay's prior comments.
Okay,
Yeah, section 4A, he changed
okay,
that.
yeah, I thought you said it was the same, so just making sure that I'm clear on that.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So we have, are there any questions regarding 2025-12? Otherwise, we can entertain a motion to suspend and get this thing taken care of.
Did you say what year it was that was removed?
I'm sorry, can't hear you.
Did Chief mention what year that was changed for the state?
For the state?
I
Yeah.
think it was 2020, and the only reason I know this is because I bought a car and the dealer said, oh, they're about to change that law, like, don't worry about the front plate.
Yeah.
So
That's, I was just wondering how long it
Anecdotal,
took for us to
but-
catch up on that.
That's at least 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody was ever being cited for it.
I get it. I get it. I was just curious.
The department knew about it. It was just not changed.
Super.
Right. It's a good cleanup item.
Mhm, I agree.
I'm glad the lieutenant observed that it was still
It doesn't bother me.
vestigial and hanging out there. All right, who wants to make a motion to suspend?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Zatra?
Yes.
Ms. Waltman?
Yes.
Ms. Bodett?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes,
Mr. Gentile? Dr. Wong?
Yes.
Okay, and a motion to adopt 2025-12.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Zatra?
Yes.
Ms. Waltman?
Yes.
Ms. Bodett?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
yes.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Dr. Wong?
Okay, thank you. Last Friday, we opened the bids for the Shaker Boulevard pedestrian trail. And Mr. Shi, you want to discuss this?
Got good group of bidders came in and bid. Prices were very competitive, and they were within $5,000 of each other, the two lowest bids, so. good to see.
And 100,000 under the estimate.
About 100,000 under the estimate.
Fantastic.
So,
Why such a robust group?
uh,
It's great for us.
Yeah, it's nice that they're looking for work. They're trying to finish up the season, and so some of them sharpen their pencil a little bit more than others.
Yeah.
We're seeing that pretty evenly across the board right now, for whatever reason.
Is that a general slowdown you're
I don't
perceiving?
think I think they're just making sure that they come.
Because the spread in the bids was very high. Some were above your estimate.
Yes,
No.
but overall, 10-15%. Yeah, it's not bad.
But the successful bid was pretty spot on to Mr. Shi's estimate,
No, it was
wasn't it?
Yeah,
No.
well, I think.
100,000 under.
In this meeting, I think I was asked ballparks, and I didn't have my numbers in.
Oh,
and
okay.
I threw out the number 850.
You said 850, I remember.
So this includes the optional items?
Yeah, that's, we're starting to use some of that thermoplastic paint for the crosswalks. If you've noticed the stuff on Gates Mills, it's a thicker paint, it lasts longer, I think it weathers better. And so we're gonna try to start using that more and more. It wasn't a big increase in cost, so.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just looked at the number and
Yeah.
it didn't sync up with what was in the ordinance.
Right, just a little bit more than that, because I think we should pick up those
Yeah.
alternates.
And Don, this is a whole different company than did Lander, correct? This is,
It is a different company. Actually, the company that did Lander is they're gonna be starting in South Woodland in the next couple of weeks. They got that bid. And so they were the second low on this. So it's actually kind of nice. We'll have two separate contractors working on Shaker and another one working on South Woodland.
I had a comment about a particular employee of that from a community member, so I'll touch base with
Okay,
you.
sure, let me know.
So the alternate item 1 and item 2 at the bottom of all the estimates, that's for the markings for the pedestrian walkways.
Correct,
When it crosses
the
the street.
crosswalks essentially.
Well, with using different contractors for different projects, will the concrete material be identical? Like, is it going to look the same, cure the same? Will
They
they?
have the same requirements as far as the
Okay.
same type that we used out there.
So then, like, if anything needs to be replaced, it's all going to be uniform?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. That's what I need to know. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Then could we entertain a motion to approve this bid of Olega Cement Contractors?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Ms. Atrop?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Ms. Bodek?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Dr. Wong?
And Don, can you give us an idea on timing?
They are, I'm gonna say that they'll probably start right around just after Labor Day. Take a couple weeks to get the contract stuff squared away and then
That's 5 days from NTP.
notice to proceed.
Oh.
And what is
Haven't been
the
given that notice yet, so.
expected length of the by completion? I know it's all weather
Yeah,
dependent.
they have 75 calendar days, so
Okay.
2 months, so September, October, they should finish by the November.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shi. Next, about a week ago, little less than a week ago, more than a week ago, we had a water main break over on Chagrin Boulevard. It required emergency repairs. Neroni and Sons were brought in to evaluate it. It was necessary to engage as quickly as possible to reopen the closed Chagrin Boulevard. This was over by Lewis Road near the schools on the westbound side of Chagrin. And notice was forwarded right away to the council regarding the necessity of the repairs. The repairs are now complete, Don,
They are complete.
and the road is opened again?
Open to traffic.
Okay. We do not have an invoice yet from Neroni. It is, as in the notice I sent to council, it's estimated that the repairs will be up to around $30,000. We're hopeful that maybe it's coming in a little lower than that. It may actually come in lower than $25,000. But I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the labor and expenses in the event that it exceeds the 25. Let's just button that up and get this approved for this repair. So could we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'd just like to say, I appreciate that notification that came out by email. That was, that's similar to what happened back in January, and this is the right procedure, and it's really great to have that happen.
It
I
is.
share your sentiments, Tony. I was, as you know, upset about how things went in January, and this is perfect.
And I would
We don't have
also,
any more of these, though.
Well, we don't,
Yeah.
no more,
$60,000 or $50,000 worth of emergencies in 1 year.
Yeah.
That's enough.
well, and I appreciate that sometimes things do happen, but collaborating and learning from that process and then making this better, I do appreciate the administration coming to us with it. So thank you very much.
What I would like to do, and I appreciate the congratulations on procedure from council, but we only heard from 3 of you regarding the notification. And only two approved. So I need, when we send these out, we do need to hear back from council about approving these procedures. Happy to provide the notices, but the other half of the equation is we do need to hear back from you guys. So I would appreciate your paying attention to the emails.
Far enough down the page.
We've never received one of these before, so I guess there haven't been any other emergencies
The
that
nuances.
exceeded $25,000, because this was the first one I've ever received. So
So anyway, I entertain a motion to approve. Do we have that?
Yeah.
we have it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Newell?
Yes.
Ms. Zatra?
Yes.
Ms. Weltman?
Yes.
Ms. Stodic?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Dr. Wong?
And now we are to what I think everyone's going to find a fascinating part of this
This is cool.
program. And I'm going to turn the conversation over to Mr. Newell, who wants to provide us with a Phragmites project update and the efforts that he undertook last week. Mr. Advent was there along with John Onavange, helping out and observing.
This is something I hope we have better audio video equipment that I wanted to get up and move over here so you can see this. As you know, we received a grant to begin the fight against Phragmites here in Temple Pike, and the first phase of the process actually began last week. It was quite an adventure, and I want to show you the adventure because it was more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So
The one part, I'm going to give you a spoiler. When Mr. Newell flies his drone over the Phragmites, pay attention to what you're observing, because it's startling when you see it.
And we're just going to use my computer speaker because we have no way to run this through the speakers here. So,
Yeah, dim the lights for you, Scott.
thank you.
Yeah.
Phragmites, a fast-spreading invasive reed, is threatening wetlands across the Great Lakes Basin, including right here in Pepper Pike. One place where Phragmites is taking over is here at a water retention basin at Shaker and Brainerd. Controlling them is difficult and expensive, so we applied for a grant through the Great Lakes Commission. Through its PANF program, it's studying effective, cost-efficient ways to fight these invaders. The first step is seeing the level of invasion. So Autumn McGowan and Teresa Gruninger came here from Michigan to evaluate its current state.
We're assessing the density and just how many frag there are in the state of their presence. Are they healthy frag? Are they tall? Are they thick? Just checking to see what the initial state looks like before you begin any management actions that you're going to take.
For 3 hours, we pushed our way through the dense field of tough green reeds to take some important measurements.
We take the density, so that is the number of live stems of Phragmites within a quarter meter squared quadrat. And then we also take the width of those live stems. And so those two combinations gives a pretty good sense of how healthy the Phragmites is doing.
This summer, the city will begin the battle by using an aquatic-approved herbicide, followed by biomass removal and site recovery. Our goal is to give native plants a chance to thrive again. It's more than weed control. It's ecological recovery.
We're hoping that through this program, we build information on what management actions work to treat frag and ultimately remove it. And by you and others participating, we're seeing what works in different areas.
And you probably drive by that all the time, and you really don't realize how thick it is. It's unbelievable. As you're walking through that, you can't even move.
It looks like the Everglades.
It does.
That's thick.
It looks like cornfields too, and it's, these were about, I think, maybe 10 to 12 feet high, and they get higher than that. They get up to be about 20 feet. So the next step is that the treatment begins next month. And then later, they're going to remove the biomass after the plants are initially destroyed. And that is part of the whole method that we're studying, and that goes into the study that they're doing at the Great Lakes Collaborative to find out which is the most effective way of treating it at the best cost. So the reason for their visit is to make sure that we know how to do the monitoring. If they don't send the people here every time to do the measurements and all that. So I have a feeling who's going to be doing that the next time. It's because I learned how to do that. So we will, we'll see how it goes.
Scott, do they replant something native to grow back in its place, or is it just left fallow and?
It's left. This is a long process. It will not, one application of the herbicide and one cleaning out of the plant, that doesn't do the job.
Huh.
That's why there's all over the place.
So they're hoping that this kills them down to the root so they don't just pop right back up. That's
Well, what happens with Phragmites is they grow this tremendous root system underneath. And you can kill the top part, but you cannot just easily kill the bottom part. And that's the whole problem.
So how many applications are they anticipating we'll have to do, or is this fluid?
This is it's a year program, and we only do one application for our year.
Okay.
And after that, we'll have to look at what other plans we're going to undertake.
And will they give us feedback on some of their other projects to see if somewhere else there was something
Yes.
that was much more successful?
They'll give us a whole complete synopsis of the whole project.
Okay.
There are several different protocols that other cities are using, and all of this is in the Great Lakes Basin around the Great Lakes.
So we could pivot to someone else's treatment if theirs was much more successful. That's
The goal
great.
is to ultimately do whatever's best.
Whatever's
Maybe
best.
they're going to pivot to our treatment.
Yeah, maybe they'll put, whichever's the best. And
Oh, yes. A lot of insects, I can tell you. We saw all sorts of things. There are a lot of snails. You see where the snails are in there eating the leaves. You can see where the leaves are eaten. Deer, you could see from that area, you could see where there were spots where the deer go through there. You can also see where the deer settle down for the night. But there's a lot of insects, and there's some birds. Saw some red-winged blackbirds. One red-winged blackbird was very unhappy that I put my drone too close to it. But you see goldfinches in there. It's really beautiful over there. It really is. The other thing that's going to help us, of course, is it's a retention basin, so we have to hold water in there. And if we get too much of this stuff, we're not going to be able to hold that much water. So it's an interesting experiment.
So do we have
Really
to-
appreciate the people from that organization.
Do we have to do any protocol to make sure that people and their pets in particular stay away when we're doing this treatment? Do they give us signage? Do we have some sort of?
Yeah, you may have noticed there is signage that we'll have up there.
Okay, because a lot of people walk, that's the extension of the path,
Yes.
so.
And we will have, I believe, 3 signs that go along that sidewalk. We're not too concerned about the other. They mainly put up the signs to prevent anybody from going in there and doing something else to that area. And since
Okay.
this is all city land.
Sure.
People, there really hasn't been much disturbing of that by anybody at this point.
Sure.
But yeah, the signs are up, will go up there.
Great.
Who handles the application? Not the grant application, but the actual application of the herbicide.
Jim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that'll be next month, I think, as we start that.
Have they done this with any other communities?
Yeah, they've actually.
Very active.
Great.
They've also done it with this
group. Oh,
organization.
great. Okay.
So they're comfortable with them doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for taking that on, Scott.
That may not be the only audio video presentation you get to see from me tonight.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, we had a finance committee meeting tonight, Mr. Lemay.
We did, Finance Committee meeting, and I'd like to thank Peter for the timeliness of his reports, as well as some new formatting and information that he provided, including some extra information about benchmarking our current spending to budget, some better information about our investments, our monthly spending, fund balances, and our monthly investments. So thank you to Peter for all that. I think the committee was well pleased with the report. From a financial performance standpoint, on revenues, we are ahead of budget a little bit over the year, and expenses a little bit under budget. So we're doing very, very well to budget so far this year. And no other particular anomalies to report. So in good shape.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I believe that was the only committee that met since last 2 weeks ago. So, any department heads have anything to lead to us? The Shaker 2A is underway, and I'll tell council we've received no complaints at all that I'm aware of from any of the residents regarding it. So the crew seem to be doing a good job. I know it's always an inconvenience to residents when these projects come through their neighborhood, but so far it seems very successful. And commendations to the crews for what they're accomplishing so far. Mr. Gentile?
Pass along a comment from a resident. This resident was unable to attend the meeting that took place for the folks in 2A and doesn't have the document that was handed out at the meeting, and wondered if it had been mailed out to everyone or to the people who didn't attend the meeting.
If you pass along the name, I'm happy to get the information to them.
Okay, well, I mean, I think it probably should go to.
I'm not certain that it didn't. I'm not aware of your question until I just heard it, so I can't recall that, but probably it went out to people. But if they're without it,
I'll give you the name.
Give me the name and we'll get them the information.
Yeah, okay. If it didn't go out to everybody who wasn't at the meeting, it probably should, though.
Yeah.
Mayor, since we're talking about the departments, the fire department had something interesting that happened yesterday.
They did.
They did, and thanks to Chief Frazier, who invited me to actually go out and see this thing. This was, when you go shopping for a new car, what do you do, or new SUV? You go to the showroom, and you take a look at the models that are available. When you're looking for emergency equipment and fire trucks, just don't go to a showroom. The showroom actually came to us yesterday, and in the form of what they call it is sort of a rodeo, where they take all these emergency vehicles so the cities can see the different types. And one of the things that was very interesting was a fire truck that runs on electricity, which interests, I think, all of us because of the possibilities of better environmental impact. And so I decided I'd like you to take a look and see what it looks like. It's this is kind of a brief look at what we did. Let me start this.
Pepper Pike Fire Chief John Frazier was among those checking out everything on display, from towering ladder trucks to the latest in emergency lighting. One of the stars of the show was that electric fire truck made by Pierce.
Some of the things we found with the electric fire truck is obviously less emissions. They're clean. We don't see the tailpipe emissions inside the fire station as the truck is coming in and out of the firehouse.
This is a pumper called the Volterra, and it can switch between electric and diesel power. Technically, it's called a parallel system because it can run on either.
The system is smart enough to know once that battery gets down to a charging state, the combustion engine will
will pick up, start up, and run through our drive system, and it's seamless. The operator, other than the noise, a little bit of noise, is the only real way that he's gonna know that the diesel engine's running.
Here's inside the cabin on electric. And here's inside the cabin on diesel. The batteries are stored in the middle.
So this little module here, this is your electrification. Everything's contained in this 18-inch stack, which makes it really nice if you're conscious of the environment and you want to go zero emissions. Definitely an advantage. There's less moving parts, so your maintenance costs are going to be down because you're dealing with electric equipment and electric motors. So there's less maintenance to a traditional engine.
There have been several cities that have tried this. They've been out for maybe 3 or 4 years. And they have all reported much success with it. It's a lower operating cost. I asked about, because Cleveland area is so cold, if it had any problem with the batteries. They said no, they've had them up in Wisconsin and some of the northern cities. Works quite well. I think it's something that the chief is interested in looking at when we get to the point where we need to replace a truck. And this could be the future. There are pros and cons to it, as you can imagine, but I thank you for inviting me to be part of that, because I really enjoyed that. But I'm kind of a vehicle freak anyway.
So it has one electric engine, but it can be fed by diesel?
It has,
Or two?
it has a diesel engine and it has the electric motor. And there's a difference. I learned this, I didn't know this. A hybrid, in order for it to be a hybrid grid, it has to be able to charge the battery from the combustion engine.
Right.
This works in parallel. It's either one or the other. And the obvious need for a diesel engine is if you go on a place where there's a fire, it could be going for 10 hours, right? So obviously the electricity wouldn't last that long. So they have the diesel as the backup. In most of the cities who have tried them out, they run an average of about 95% on electric. So they're saving a lot of diesel fuel, and it's the saving in fuel that really makes the price difference palatable. But also all the other benefits you get, and that's the environment. You heard when that thing went by, that there's no noise. You know what happens when an electric car goes by when you're out walking. Imagine that as a fire truck, because you know how loud fire trucks are. I think it's.
Don't you want fire trucks to be loud?
Well, the siren, the siren you want loud.
So we don't want the truck to be loud, we want the signals to be loud. But the other thing is, when you're fighting a fire, if you have the diesel engine running all the time, as I understand, the communication is difficult because you've got all this noise going on. And they say that when they're fighting fires and they're on the electric power, it's so much better and so much easier, and they're in better shape.
Do we know the price differential between the diesel and?
Yes, approximately from 1.5 times to twice as expensive.
Wow.
But the fuel savings are key to all this. We have to look at the total. It's not just the initial outlay.
Is the fuel savings net of the electricity to charge the battery?
It's the diesel, basically. It's the diesel fuel that you don't use.
You're not taking into account
Yeah,
the charging of the battery.
You also have to, take into account if there are less moving parts, and that causes less maintenance. So
Right. Well, then when we get
it's
solar
a-
panels
it's a pretty
and
Right.
easy-
the service, I'm not joking.
Further, can they do that?
I'm sorry?
Put a
Except
solar
it's
panel
Cleveland.
on the fire truck.
Look, the one
It's
solar
fine,
panel
it's
up in
solar.
Hawaii.
Chief, when would be a potential, when would be the next time this would even come into consideration, purchasing a new vehicle like this?
Well, we actually have it in the budget this year. So the, one of the problems is a fire pumper today is about a 40-month delivery.
Mhm.
So by the time if we use that 40 months, our engine or current pumper will be about 22 years old.
Okay. So is the lifespan of these expected to be as long, or is that even hard to say, just given like the sort of technological advances potential and?
So if I'm correct, they warranty the batteries for 12 years?
It's very long, yeah.
Okay.
So you would have a 12-year span on the initial battery
Okay.
life.
I'm sure they could give us the ROI numbers, so we can, the return on the investment with, the calculation. I'm sure that they have that.
They actually have a program for that.
Okay.
And I just emailed the Pierce, they're gonna get that for me.
Oh, that'd be great.
So we can input the data, and that shouldn't be a problem. We should be able to evaluate that.
When we're talking about electric, it'd be nice to also do other things in electric, like, lawn maintenance, I don't know. Things are getting better for other things too. And so if we're buying new equipment in the city, we could, like for lawnmowers or something like that, we can look at electric things. for that.
You're right, and we're always looking at that.
Yeah.
We, in the past, had hybrid police vehicles. And the nature of who's supplying the police vehicles changed, and there wasn't a hybrid available for the new cars. So we try to take advantage of it because we don't buy vehicles that often. A 23-year-old truck, this doesn't come along that often that we're going to go purchase a new fire pumper. So I think it's we need to very carefully consider, making the investment in, something that's only going to come by for us very infrequently.
Yeah, I was in downtown Cleveland this weekend and a fire truck went by. It was really old, all the fumes were coming out of the back of it and it was super loud, not from the siren, but from the engine. And I'm like, that must be a really old fire truck. So,
Yeah, no, we've looked at it for service vehicles, for all sorts of things, is, evaluate the opportunity when it happens.
So this would be our first vehicle of that size that could potentially
Yeah.
be like a dual fuel. Are we equipped for charging it, and what does that look like?
So that price tag includes converting your station.
Okay.
We already have 3-phase power, so that would be required for the 480 volts.
And what's interesting is, there are several cities that don't have the power available, and the power companies in many of those cities will do that, install that free, because they want them to consume the power.
Are there any downsides aside from the cost? To your mind?
So, I mean, it's fairly new, so it's sometimes that's tough to
Yeah.
gauge.
Yeah, that'd be my concern. Is it really proven technology at this point? I'm sure it's getting better and better.
Yeah, I guess one downside would be the 12-year warranty on the battery, because that's a key part of the vehicle. So 12 years is a good amount of time, but you're working on 22. But maybe they have more of a discussion on what their anticipated life is. That would be helpful too.
So the 40-month lead time is for a traditional vehicle. What's the lead time on these?
These are a little bit quicker. I think he said it was available in 18 months, 12 to 18 months.
And there's also another company that makes one too, so that's something else to look at.
and there's been no problems with the batteries catching on fire. You know how like the Teslas can catch on fire. I mean, it's gonna be in the fire.
Butters.
Yeah, they report not. This is actually manufactured by Oshkosh. So they have a pretty long record in military vehicles that are run on electric. So they took that and adapted it to a fire truck.
Do we know any communities in, the region that have had some experience and see how they're?
They spoke to Madison. They actually gave one to Madison and they ran it for 2 years. And they didn't have any problems with it.
Okay.
There are several other cities, but they're not close to us.
Close to us, but that's
there
still
are
a good
the-
reference.
The northern climate, so they have determined that even in a cold weather climate, it's.
Can you lease one?
I don't know.
I hadn't heard.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Chief, and Mr. Newell, again, you are spoiling us with your presentations tonight. Thank you very, very much. And Chief, more.
Just one other item, at 8:46 this morning, Beechwood Dispatch received a 911 call by cell phone, reporting that his wife was in labor, hung up the phone. Beechwood Dispatch identified that it was on the freeway. Dispatch, Pepper Pike's ambulance, they arrived, found a woman in labor in the back seat and delivered a baby boy right in the back seat.
Well, Mazel tov. Are they naming the baby John?
Well, we were speculating on, a couple different names, Lane. We're not sure.
Well, that's a nice story. I like that story. Thank you. We have a week without events this week in Pepper Pike, although there is the opening of the Medina Creative Housing Project is being dedicated later this week on Thursday. And it's very nice. Our newest residents, there are 24 units, I think, 23 or 24 units. And that will be, they'll have their first residents moving in very shortly. So that's another nice thing that's happening here in Pepper Pike this week.
Got a movie on Saturday.
Say again?
Movie on Saturday.
We do have a movie on Saturday. Which movie is it?
Jumanji.
Jumanji. Okay. This is Jumanji, the remake, not the original.
Never seen it.
You know, the
original was good.
Not the Hulk, The Rock. The Rock is in this one.
you know, the location and time of the opening of the.
It's at 4 o'clock on Thursday.
They sent us an email, Tony.
Yeah.
Should be in your inbox somewhere.
Sorry.
They sent us an email, like an invitation.
So anyone who wants to come, you're more than welcome to be there and witness this very nice event here in Pepper Pike. And please come on out to the movie on Saturday. That's if you haven't been to our movies before, anyone in the audience, they're Work Council. They are really fun events, and our service department does a great job of producing them for us and providing the refreshments. And it is they're children and adults. They're well done and they're nicely attended. So I invite anyone who wants to come. Council, you have anything?
I had a question, and I'm not sure who to direct this to. So I know we had talked when it was sort of ongoing, the initial, at least on the street where Melanie and I live, about AT&T laying the fiber. And I had a neighbor ask me about it again last night, and I believe he's been in touch with you, Jim, about like some repairs to the front yard. Like he had a phone number for, someone at AT&T to contact. My question is more about the notice that the city gets. And I know that, we got notices in our mailboxes a couple weeks in advance, like, hey, we're going to be working in your neighborhood. But can you guys, and again, I don't know who to ask this to, what is their interaction with the city when a utility decides to come in and do, this is, a pretty big project.
It's pretty de minimis.
Yeah. So can you talk me through how they can sort of, I understand it's a right away, but how can they just show up and we're
They
going
must
to,
have to get it permit.
yeah.
Don't they have to get it permit?
No,
Because they have the easement, I
no,
think.
it's the right of way, and they have rights in the right of way. And Don?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
your particular subdivision is also a 10-foot easement beyond the right of way.
Okay.
Which is specifically dedicated to AT&T, Spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your electric.
Okay.
Because Jackie, I asked the same
Right,
question.
yeah, I remember you brought that up.
And I know I actually had a line cut, and they were actually, the contractor was very good about repairing it
Mhm.
eventually. But it is really interesting because you're not really given an opportunity to even know when they're coming to alert them if you think there's an anomaly. Because
Yeah.
our neighborhood is old enough that there are anomalies and
Right.
people.
Yeah, okay, so the city really doesn't get much of a heads up?
No.
Okay,
Generally, no.
okay,
It'd be no different if they had an emergency repair and had to replace.
Sure.
They would do it.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah,
When a resident calls us, what we generally do, they usually call when the flags pop up.
yeah,
And so they'll call and say, hey, somebody put a bunch of flags in my yard, what's that all about? Well, I go out there I have an app on my phone, I check who ordered those flags.
okay,
And that indicates what the work is and where it's going,
Okay.
what is going on. So then we just call the resident back and say, hey, it's fiber optics going in, or it's cable.
okay,
I think there was a line going down Old Brainerd right now.
okay.
That it got cut, so they're redoing the whole street. Basically got a line going down 10 houses.
Is there any indication of how many, are they gonna be like working through the whole city on this project? Do we know?
No.
No.
They've been doing like neighborhood by neighborhood.
Yeah.
I
Street by
remember.
Yeah.
You know,
I did try to reach out to,
Yeah.
because there are a few neighborhoods that would really like to have the
Yeah.
fiber. And they're going to do it when they do it. It's basically their
Yeah,
answer.
okay,
They do not, they don't share. I'll say that. They don't
Yeah.
share. And
And the other interesting thing is they're all subcontractors.
yeah,
So it's hit or miss of how helpful they will be, I assume, when they cut your whatever electrical line, cable, whatever it is. I don't know if we keep track of
If
who's
you guys,
there.
like email, have like your whole neighborhood maybe, or put the request on AT&T for fiber,
Mhm.
that might overload them and tell them that there's a lot of interest, because we used to not have it on Gates Mills,
Mhm.
and then we got it
Mhm.
after a lot of us started contacting them, so
Mhm.
that might be a way, and then I've called them a few times and emailed them and made requests.
Yeah.
And then they finally put it in.
yeah,
yeah, I think they're like any utility sewer project. They hit the mains first
Right.
yeah.
and then they branch out.
And then if someone has complaints about the state their yard was left in, they just have to take it up with AT&T. It's like there's no special.
Yeah, we're
conduit
happy.
for us.
If there's a problem, we're happy to try to interact
Okay,
And they're very good.
and assist our residents
Okay.
always. Whether or not we're successful or
Right,
not.
different story.
I've been running trap lines for a resident on another issue for the last week and a half,
Yeah.
trying to get some success for them.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I had a complaint from a resident that there's roofing crews aggressively soliciting roofing jobs, like literally going door to door.
Oh, really?
Free inspection of your roof. It's
I
not gonna
know.
cost you anything.
Well, they need solicitation permits if
That's-
they're doing that.
Right.
And the police will be on the lookout. Have you come across these things in the
I
department?
just received the email, but definitely call us up. We'll go-
Call you guys if they, yeah,
Absolutely.
right away, okay. Yeah, more than one crew came by and they're very aggressive and kind of,
Yeah, we'll go and check and see if it is.
Yeah.
permanent.
okay.
Yeah, well, we like, and we encourage people to call us because not only do they require a solicitation permit, which requires also levels of identification and security
Right.
and background so that we know who it is
Yeah,
that's knocking on people's doors, and which is very important. And which may be, other than just the disturbance to people individually.
yeah, they weren't, when they were turned down, they weren't pleasant about it. So,
Wow.
yeah, well, I knew they needed a permit, but kind of enforcement, I don't know if it was appropriate, get to you, chief, but we'll do that in the
Sure,
future.
there's been scams.
I'll tell
Run that way as well. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've had people knock on my door for not this roofing, but other solicitations. And they'll knock and I'm looking at them, they're pitching. I say, do you have a permit?
Yeah.
And they go, no. I say, well, you need a permit. Then I say, I'm the mayor. You really need and they just, well, it's not me, it's my boss on the street. He said- and,
So I have a
But we
question.
do like to check up on people and the police come by and very friendly.
Yeah.
make the inquiry and direct them to come in and get a permit.
In the building department, right? Or,
No, we do it right up here in the finance department.
finance, okay.
So related to that, do we have a do not like a no knock registry or a no solicitation list that residents could join if they did not want, that could be enforceable? Is that something that we currently have, or is it something that we could potentially look at as we're getting more aggressive solicitation in the city?
It sounds like no with the no knock list.
There isn't one.
There is
No.
not one.
Did we
People
have
just
one
put
at one
those little,
point?
like stickers at their
Yeah, they put
window,
a
right?
sticker on their door.
Well, you can't-
Solicitation.
I was just
Address really quickly and
Yeah.
please handle it.
Okay, I know that Orange Village actually has a registry that
Really
residents can register for. And I think if it becomes a problem, it may be something that we would want to look at.
Yeah, if it becomes a problem, we will look at it.
Okay.
And it's effective when someone comes in and registers. Because then you can give them the no knock list.
Yeah, well, exactly. And like, it's kind of a win-win there. And that makes it enforceable too.
Right.
So,
Okay. Any audience comments? Hearing none? We stand adjourned.
Yeah.
Good. A year in the making.
We did it.